Hello and welcome to another episode of the Catholic League Forum. I'm Mike McDonald, Director of Communications at the Catholic League, and joining me today is Bill Donahue, President and CEO of the Catholic League. Now, Bill, everyone's getting ready for the big 4th of July weekend, but very fittingly, we had a couple of big victories in the Supreme Court in the last week on religious liberty, one of the big founding reasons for this country. So hoping you could talk us through some of those decisions today because they're very important, not just to our dear viewer, but also to America at large. So let's just take these in the order that they came out. So there was a big case involving schools in Maine. Can you talk us through that a little bit?
Yes, people understand the background of this. Maine is a largely rural state. Going back to the 1840s, the state authorities knew that every child was required by law to attend school. But what do you do with a kid where there's not many people, and obviously there's no public school nearby? So what they decided was this: you could go to any school that was nearby. It could be a Catholic school, could be a private non-sectarian school, Christian school, whatever it is. And we'll pay for it because you are mandated to go to school, and we can't provide schools in areas where there's not much of a population. That was not even an issue then. Nobody complained. This went on until 1980, when the state attorney general in Maine decided, well, wait a minute, we shouldn't give money to religious schools. So they started discriminating against religious schools or against parents who would send their kid to a religious school. And that was the issue before the Supreme Court. And of course, the Supreme Court said, no, this is basic religious discrimination. You can't say that there's money for public schools, there's money for private schools, but there's not money for private schools which are also religious. And so that violates the First Amendment to the Constitution, which is involved with the free exercise of religion. So that was a big victory.
Yeah, big victory, very good for school choice in general and religious schools.
Well, I think what it'll do too, Mike, I mean, there aren't that many blacks and Hispanics in Maine, but black and Hispanics are the ones who are suffering the most from the failed public school system. Right. What this will do, this will galvanize activists and black and Hispanic leaders to press for school choice all across the country. So in that sense, it's a good trigger mechanism.
Yes, very important stuff. Also, another important case, probably the big case, we've been talking about it for a while, was the ruling in the Mississippi Dobbs versus Jackson case regarding Mississippi's abortion law. And great victory there on the Supreme Court in terms of Roe v. Wade. Bill, can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, of course, everybody knows the decision at this point. By the way, we had to put out a statement today. Major media outlets, including major conservative ones, got it all wrong. They said the final decision was 6-3 to overturn Roe v. Wade. No, it was not. It was 6-3 to uphold the Mississippi law banning abortions. Roberts went with that. The decision to overturn Roe was 5-4. Roberts bolted on that. So the media need to get their act together. Fox News was one of the worst, by the way. They tried to correct themselves. They had it right the first time. It's embarrassing. Look, there's so many issues here. There are biological issues, religious, moral, ethical issues. I remember teaching classes in civil liberties to college students a number of years ago. We'd go over the decision. Now, how do you find a right to privacy? Well, they found it in the Griswold decision dealing with birth control. They found it. They developed a right to privacy. They became more inventive in 1973. Harry Jack Blackmun, writing the majority opinion, said, well, there's a right to privacy. It's found of emanations born of penumbras in the 14th Amendment. In other words, it's basically an abstraction in the shadow of the 14th Amendment. Well, let me tell you something. Forget about abortion. Once you go down that line of inventing rights, then we're in trouble. Yeah. It's a shame that it took this long. Obviously, because we're pro-life and we're pro-science at the Catholic League, so is the Catholic Church. We're ahead of science. Right. We knew that this was a matter of life and death. So, the decision was wrong on many respects, and people should remember again, regardless of how you feel about the moral question, every person who's listening to this video right now has to understand your life began at conception, not a day later. The DNA that makes you a unique individual began at fertilization, not a day later. If it's left uninterrupted, that development becomes a full human being. So be very careful, people, when you listen to all the lies that have been told about this issue. Again, we're very proud of the Catholic Church and the way we handle this issue, and all those pro-life people over the years proved to be tenacious. And it's a victory for life and a great statement for the Catholic Church. No wonder we're the ones who've been attacked.
Right.
All those churches that were attacked, they were all Catholic churches. in the wake of Roe v. Wade. They know where the power is. It's a backhanded compliment that they know that the Catholic Church's moral authority is the one that carried the ball over the finish line on Roe v. Wade.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, of course, there's obviously still work to be done. It's
Oh,
not
God,
totally a ban on abortion. It goes over to the states now, so people that are living in states that are
Right.
rabid abortion supporters, that's where the fight's going to shift to. But Bill, I can't help but notice, my entire life, your life, you've been talking about this for a very long time. There's been a very strong focus within certain elements of this country to focus on repealing and overturning Roe v. Wade. And I would hope now that we've, the pro-lifers, obviously the fight goes on, but as we move forward, hopefully we can focus more on other questions of religious liberty, because that seems to be the big cases that are before the court moving forward, and that's very good. And the Catholic League obviously will be right in there in the thick of it. And that brings us to probably the last case that we were tracking this term, involving Kennedy v. Bremerton High School district out in Washington State, in which a football coach was trying to pray after games, and the school was making it next to impossible and ultimately fired him over it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't, if you just listen to some of the mainstream media, you may not know the whole story here. This coach, a high school coach, in a high school outside of Seattle, very liberal area, he would take a knee and say a prayer by himself. Initially, students would be there with him. And the school said to him, well, listen, you've been going on for 7 years. We just heard about it now. Somebody was complimenting you. But now we're looking at it, we're saying you shouldn't be leading the students in the prayer. He said, that's fine. I'll just pray by myself. They didn't like that. They said, we have a problem with that. Students came along, they said, can we join you? He didn't ask any students.
Right.
He didn't demand as a condition of playing football that you had to pray with them. They asked, and he said, yes, this is a free country. They said that was unacceptable. They fired him. So basically what we have is a man engaged in silent prayer by himself, students joining with him voluntarily after the game is over. That's had to get to the Supreme Court of the United States. It should have been 9-0. Shame on the 3 justices who voted the other way. This is a matter of freedom of speech, and not just religious liberty.
Yep, absolutely. And these are going to be bigger fault lines moving forward. We've got our amicus brief for next term already in the hopper, so the Catholic League is going to be right there with us. So, Bill, I feel like that's a good point to wrap it up. Is there anything you'd like to close out with?
Yes, as we've been doing now for some time, at the end of every week, we give you a kind of a synopsis of what we've been doing, some of the highlights of the previous week that we've done, and because sometimes people can't keep up on all the emails, we understand that. Because of some scheduling difficulties, we're not going to be having it on a regular basis until the fall, until September. However, that's not to say that if we get some breaking news on some very important case, especially one that we're involved in, that we will notify you, and we will continue the forum here and there. But on a regular basis, at the end of every week, we won't be doing that until September. So we hope everybody enjoys the summer. It's a great victory. The guy you used to work for, his name is Donald Trump. Had he not appointed Kavanaugh, Coney Barrett, and Gorsuch, that would have been quite different.
Yep.
So, and it's a good thing that Harriet Myers dropped out a number of years ago, and go for you, Laura Ingraham, pushing for that, because a couple of days later, Bush chose Samuel Alito, who, along with Clarence Thomas, who has been the victim of racism, by the way. They're saying things about Clarence Thomas that are out and out racist, and so, but because he's a conservative, that doesn't seem to count. But we take note of this at the Catholic League. The ruling class got it on the chin this week. It shows the power of the rank and file, and we will never give up. And remember, all these people a couple of years ago writing these books about what we should do in the conservative movement. The culture wars are over. The whole Benedict option.
Yeah.
Go pray in the woods. Hey, listen, people, we never believed that baloney. We're fighters here, all right? We're gladiators. We're not spectators. And it's because of people like us that didn't go into the woods and quit, like some people asked us to do, that we won this week. It's very important that we stay in the fight and not give up.
Yeah, absolutely. The fight's going to keep going on. It's going to be raging for a while. And here at the Catholic League, we are positioned to, lead the charge on this in very exciting times, and looking forward to it. So, dear viewer, thank you for watching. Always appreciate your support. If you give this video a like and subscribe, we'd greatly appreciate it. As Bill mentioned, we'll see you here and there throughout the summer and full-time back in the fall. Thanks so much. Thanks, Bill.
Thank you.